Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Breast Connection Prevention Plus Healing. I'm Lisa Casenti, one of the co-founders, and I will be the facilitator for this evening. We are so thrilled to have you here. We are very excited for Dr. Susan Wadia-Ells to share all of her wisdom and to talk about such an important topic. Before we do that, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. So number one, we are recording this event, and this will be placed on our YouTube channel for the Breast Connection. Please know that we will only take portions of this event and put it into the recording. So for example, any personal shares we won't be including in the recording, so you can understand and feel that this is a very safe space to share. And also to piggyback on that, in order to make sure that this is a safe space for all to share, it's really important that if it's safe for you to do so, for you to turn on your camera. We appreciate that very much. I just think it really helps with building this community and making sure that people feel comfortable sharing. So thank you. So if it's safe to do so, please turn on your camera. We appreciate so much. So without further ado, I would like to give a little introduction about what we have here, this community that we are so honored to build. It is called the Breast Connection Prevention Plus Healing. 4 of us co-founders have created that, and I'm going to ask Erin to pop up the slide so I can introduce you to all of us co-founders. So one of our co-founders is Erin Price, a licensed massage therapist and creator of the Mastectomy Guide. Another co-founder is Ann Crook of integrativeradiance.com. And we also have Dina Legland of Wellness Warriors for Life, and myself, Lisa Casenti of lisacasenti.com. And before I let the co-founders really give a brief intro of themselves, it's important that I share with you that the Breast Connection Prevention Plus Healing, the reason that the 4 of us came together to create this community is that we truly believe that we heal and thrive together as a community. And it is through communities like this that we're able to share our stories. One of the most important things that we can do for one another, no matter where you are on your journey. So we, with our combined professional expertise and firsthand personal experience, we bring compassionate presence, cutting edge knowledge, support, and heartfelt connection to you through our free Zoom events that happen on the second Tuesday of each month. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to Erin so she can share briefly about herself. Thank you so much.
I am a registered massage therapist in Canada, and I started working with breast cancer patients about 9 years ago in my massage therapy practice. And I really quickly came to realize that there are not enough resources on how to heal from the surgeries. And, most people are sort of sent home from hospital trying to make their own way through. And a lot of the surgeries are very intense and very invasive to a very significant private part of the body. And it can lead to really long-term, chronic suffering in different ways when people don't have proper resources or education on what they can do and who they can go and see. So I started the Mastectomy Guide to create those resources, first for patients with home care support programs that are self-paced videos you can access 24/7. And also training massage therapists how to work with this population so that there are people in person that you can go and see and who understand what you've been going through with all your surgeries. So that's me, Erin. I'm the founder of the Mastectomy Guide.
Thank you so much. And let's pass the mic off to Dina Legland so she can talk about herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dina Legland, and I am a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with HER2 triple positive back in October of 2016. So this October will be 7 years since I was diagnosed. I live in Southern Florida, but as you hear when I talk, I am originally from Long Island, New York. I just recently moved here. It's almost 2 years now. And I'm a retired nurse, a retired EMT, and today I am a certified health and life coach. And I honestly believe that my cancer saved my life, but my fears almost killed me. And the reason I say that is because I realized during this process that I was afraid of not being loved and being judged because I had to take care of myself first. And it was very difficult for me because being a nurse, being an EMT, really serving my family and friends, it took a toll on me. So today what I do is I help women in remission conquer uncontrollable toxic fears so that they can have the joy and the inner wellness with freedom. And the key here is guilt-free. And I am now also an author and a podcaster. So, and of course, one of the co-founders of the Breast Connection. So it's very nice to have all of you here. And I'm looking forward to listening to Dr. Susan.
Thank you, Dina. Anne, let's hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Crook, and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City. I am a certified integrative health coach, and I'm also a certified Spanish medical interpreter, and I'm also a holding space consultant. So I combine emotional healing with lifestyle guidance and nutritional guidance. And I support women in midlife who've gone through breast cancer, feel stuck, exhausted, overwhelmed, to reclaim their health and transform their life. And it has been such a joy to create the Breast Connection. I'm a stage 1 breast cancer survivor, and I like to say thriver. I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary on April 13th. And it's been really awesome to pay it forward with everything I've learned through the Breast Connection with these 3 fabulous ladies. And I'm also in the process of creating a group coaching program for cancer survivors called Fully Thriving After Cancer. And that will be launching in early 2024. So it's great to be here with all of you. And we look forward to hearing Dr. Susan's talk today.
Thank you, Anne. And I'll share very briefly about myself. I'm Lisa Casenti. I am a special education teacher, a single mama, and an author and speaker. And as I was going through this journey, the perspective that I really bring is that I was a single mama and a new mama at the time that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I made my daughter very much a part of my journey together. And there's a lot that I learned along the way. I share stories, I write about them, and I found many tools that have helped me along the way. And I share and educate people about that with others. Having these 3 ladies with me to create this beautiful community is truly something we envision together. We are so grateful for all of you to be here. So without further ado, I would like to share some wonderful information about our amazing guest speaker, Dr. Susan Wadia-Ells. So we'll talk a little bit about Dr. Susan now. She's the author of Amazon's best-selling book entitled Busting Breast Cancer: 5 Simple Steps to Keeping Cancer Out of Your Body. And this basically is educating readers and the public about the metabolic theory of cancer and how to use it as a preventative tool. So that is a big part of what Dr. Wadia-Ells is going to be speaking about today. Dr. Wadia-Ells is a longtime cultural change agent, writer, researcher, and investigative reporter. After watching several close friends die from metastatic breast cancer, she decided to use her research skills to understand why so many women continue to develop this disease. Her bestseller book contains an empowering message, which I'll read now. As more women choose to use and share the 5 prevention steps outlined in Busting Breast Cancer, we can help stop today's unnecessary breast cancer epidemic, one woman at a time. That is a very powerful message. And I am honored, we are all honored to present to you Dr. Susan Wadia-Ells to speak with us today. So Dr. Wadia-Ells, thank you so much for being here. We are very excited.
Good. I've been following your podcast for a short time and never attending, but interested that the fact that there are 4 women who were so dedicated to this topic have come together and are doing this monthly session. So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. The first thing I should say is that it wasn't in my biography is I have no medical background, which is why I think when I wrote the book, if I can understand what I've written, you can understand, if I can understand what I learned, you can understand it too, because I'm a political economist, writer with my Ph.D. is in women's studies. And what I found when I began to do this research, because I was crushed at losing so many friends, and since then I have lost a number more, all to metastatic breast cancer. And my feeling was I do not want to get this disease, and I want to understand why so many women are getting it, and I want to help myself and everyone else not to get it. And I was incredibly lucky. They say, if you're in the right place at the right time, with the right plan and the right support, you don't have to be super special. You can really accomplish amazing things. And I, with the grace of the higher powers, was in the right place at the right time with the right plan and the right support. And I'll say I began this study in I don't know, 2009. Some friends will say it was earlier than that, but I don't like to think. And I all I found at that point were what I call peanut butter studies, and you've seen them. And this is a little bit funny, but researchers would take 500 women who had had breast cancer and found that none of them liked none of them liked peanut butter, and they found 500 women who never had breast cancer and they adored peanut butter. And so the conclusion of the study was eat more peanut butter and you won't probably get breast cancer, but that's all we can tell you. And in fact, women, and you may have had, any of you who have been breast cancer patients, tell me they go and they say to their oncologist after they've been initially diagnosed, hey, how come I thought I was healthy? What was I doing wrong? And the doctors will say to them, Mary Lou, we're really sorry. Maybe it was just your turn. Or Sarah Lou, we're really sorry. Maybe you were the unlucky one. And you want to punch them in the nose. Like, doctors shouldn't be treating patients for diseases when they don't understand the origin of that disease. And so when you see, and my mentor let me keep going on one story. So in 2013, I just happened to find out about Dr. Thomas Seyfried, who had Boston College geneticist, biology professor, geneticist, who had finally figured out the origin of everybody's first cancer cell. And we're not just talking breast cancer here, we're talking all kinds of cancers. And he put together information, research that had been being, that had been published for like decades. And he finally put the whole picture together, along with using some of the mice in his pre-laboratory or preclinical studies. When you hear that term preclinical, they're dealing with rats and mice, those poor guys, but they help us along because then we can go to humans after that. And he basically finally figured out the origin of each cancer cell. And let me just quickly tell it to you, because, if you don't know the origin of a cancer cell, you can't prevent it. If you don't know the origin of a problem, you can't not do it again. You might end up with the same problem if you don't understand the origin. So what he found out, and this is in chapter 1 in my book, and I always forget about my book. Here's my book. It's called Busting Breast Cancer. And we have a healthy cell. You see, we have the healthy cell here, and we have the unhealthy cell. And I'll talk about that more in a second. But what he figured out was that every cancer cell begins when you suffocate the mitochondria in that cell. That the mitochondria are respiring, processing oxygen when we're healthy. Like if we hold our nose too long, we're going to all die, right? Because our cells can't grab onto oxygen and keep us going. That's our energy. The mitochondria are the energy batteries in our cells. And breast cancer cells have like, I don't know, 80 or 90 mitochondria in them. And these guys, when they were in prehistoric time, they used to be a single cell bacteria before they arrived in mammals. And in prehistoric time, it turns out there wasn't a lot of oxygen going on. These things were just gulping glucose from the atmosphere, and they were multiplying mindlessly. They're kind of like a compost heap in our backyard, right? You want to feed it. What do you give it? You don't give it oxygen. You give it garbage. You give it glucose and you feed it. And what's it do? It exponentially multiplies those little things in your compost heap, and they're making tumors. They're making black earth. But in a person, now the mitochondria have ended up, after many centuries, in mammals. And they're in our cells, and they're in our breast cells, they're in our brain cells, they're in our liver cells. And so when we do things in our life that suffocate those mitochondria, what they do is when they can't breathe oxygen anymore because we've suffocated them, they are smart little creatures, and they are able to connect with the nucleus of our cell, which everybody, the cancer industry, the big Dana-Farbers, they think, oh, somehow something went wrong with the nucleus in your breast cell. And that's why it kicked on this thing called the oncogene. And that's why you've got this tumor going on. Well, it isn't just something, it's the mitochondria, you suffocated it. And when you suffocate it, the poor thing, if it doesn't have any more oxygen, it connects with the nucleus and it says, I'm going to go back into prehistoric time. I'm going to feed off of the glucose that this person puts in their mouth. I'm going to go like prehistoric time, and I'm going to be able to duplicate like crazy. And that's that breast tumor. The oncogene's turned on and it's duplicating like crazy. If we can find ways not to suffocate the little power batteries in our cells, our breast cells, our liver cells, our colon cells, all of our cells, if we can find ways to not suffocate those little guys, because they're our friends, as long as they're breathing, as long as they're processing, they call it respiring oxygen, they're our pals, and they keep us healthy and vibrant and whatever. But as soon as we do things in our life that suffocate them, we're going to be in trouble. And so that's chapter 1 in my book, and I've described it in ways that I think are pretty easy to understand, because I had to figure it out first I had no medical instinct, no experience, no whatever. And it turns out there was a woman, Lynn. She was she was married to Carl Sagan, his first wife, and they had a couple kids together, Lynn Margulis. And she was a biology professor at Boston University. And she figured this one out, that the mitochondria used to be, in prehistoric time, glucose feeders. And now they're in mammals, they're oxygen feeders. But if we suffocate those mitochondria in our cells, that's when the oncogene in the nucleus turns on, and that oncogene does nothing but mindlessly duplicates the cell. And so here we go. So what my book then does, it basically, with that understanding, it then can say, what are the ways we can avoid suffocating our little mitochondria? And I go back to the cover of my book, and Tom Seifert had a great time. He loved it when I first showed him this cover. He said, make sure you make the healthy mitochondria green, because they're healthy and happy, and there are a lot of them in a healthy cell. And make sure you don't have a lot of mitochondria in the sick cell, because there aren't a lot. And they're just, so that's the healthy cell and that's the sick cell. And the green guys here are the healthy mitochondria, and the red guys here are the sick mitochondria. And there we are. So the first way you don't want to suffocate mitochondria is you don't want to have any excess body fat. That's number one. And why is that? Because when you have excess body fat, your body fat is a 24/7 producer of this weak kind of estrogen. But we all know that estrogen's really a wonderful hormone, as is progesterone. Like if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be women, right? We need those guys. We need them balanced. When they're balanced, everybody's happy. They're doing their job. They're not suffocating any mitochondria. You get too much estrogen and you only have this much progesterone, it's like acid. It attacks the mitochondria. It makes the mitochondria very unhappy. It can suffocate them. Any woman who is more than 10, 15, 20 pounds overweight has a 30% increased risk in developing breast cancer. It's just because she's got she's making, every fat cell is producing a weak kind of estrogen 24/7. 24/7. You're a manufacturer of those fat cells are manufacturing estrogen, and it's really difficult to keep your progesterone even when you've got that going. And that's why they say organic food and all that kind of stuff is really good, because there's a lot of estrogenic, they call them xenohormones, in regular meat that's not grass fed and in vegetables that are got chemicals on them. And xenohormones are like extra estrogen in your body. So again, unless you're really careful with your food, you can get too much estrogen. People who are who work in nail salons, or people who work in agricultural fields with a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of those xenohormones in those chemicals, and they therefore are imbalanced. And so it's really important for women of trying to avoid breast cancer is to have a hormone balancing test. And I talk about this in probably, I don't know, chapter on detoxification. So you know where you're at. Now, I'm pretty elderly, believe it or not. So I don't have a lot of estrogen or progesterone. So every day I take this plant-based cream, slap it on, so I have a nice sex life, so I have nice skin, I have decent hair, hopefully, and so I can be hormonally balanced. But you got to be balanced. And so it's really important to get a hormone balancing test and just see where you are. Okay, so that's that. And the other thing is the ketogenic diet will basically help you stay thin quickly, because I'm running out of time already. The other things is you want to always avoid progestin drugs. Every birth control drug has progestin in it. Progestin that we have, again, in my book, in 2010, they came out with a study, this Blue Star, whatever am I trying to say, team of researchers, and they found exactly how progestin not only initiates breast cancer, but accelerates breast cancer. So a woman, and that was one of my friends who I lost, she was a nurse, and she was going through menopause. She figured she should take menopause relief drugs. She took the one Prempro that's got progestin in it. Not all of them do. If you still have your uterus, they're going to give you one with progestin in it. If you've had a hysterectomy, you're okay. You can take the Premor, and it's got horse's urine is what the estrogen is, but it's not going to accelerate or create breast cancer. But any kind of progestin, that's why so many younger women are getting breast cancer. As soon as they were allowed to advertise pharmaceutical drugs on TV, thanks to good old President Clinton, he let big pharma fly, right? And then all of a sudden you had, you only want to have your period 4 times a year, get seasonal, or you have acne. We'll put you on birth control drugs. Kids who are 13 are being put on birth control drugs. So when they get to be 20, they have triple negative breast cancer. They've been poisoned by those drugs. Okay. 3, do not have a mammogram. Mammograms are trapping. I know this is very controversial. It traps tens of thousands of women a year. 60% of women who are diagnosed with breast cancer are diagnosed with stage 0, which is not cancer. 0 means 0, nothing, or stage 1. Most stage 1 breast cancers are tiny little things. They're like the size of a pea. They've been sitting there maybe for 10 years. They'll probably sit there until after you're dead. And the reason they say breast cancer awareness, that's not breast cancer awareness. They want you to have a mammogram. They want you to feel really guilty. If you don't have a mammogram, you're guilty. You're disappointing your family, your everything. No, they want you to have a mammogram. Because if you don't, 60% of the women they're treating every year in the United States for breast cancer are being treated just because of that mammogram. They found that little pea tumor. Or they found, that's telling me I need to stop. Or they're finding calcification. Every woman, as she gets older, has calcification in her breast ducts. They call that ductal carcinoma in situ. It's sitting there. And there's studies, and there's a beautiful doctor. He was at Dartmouth. He's now at Brigham and Women's, part of Harvard. He, for decades, has been doing incredible research internationally that shows mammograms do not save lives. In fact, mammograms create today's unnecessary breast cancer epidemic. We need to have breast cancer awareness every month. We need to have breast cancer prevention every month, not breast cancer awareness, excuse me. We don't need any more awareness. We need prevention. So another way, most important and the easiest before you guys get the hook and pull me off the stage here, is vitamin D3. What does anyone here know what your vitamin D3 blood level is right now? Anybody? Yes. What is it?
Well, mine usually hangs out around 114, and my doctor
What?
said he's completely fine with that. He's a functional medicine doctor, and he said if you've had breast cancer, it's good to have it on the high level.
Absolutely. I was going to say if you're in treatment or you've had it 80, but 100, that's amazing. That's good. As you get older, it's harder to keep it up there. I have to do indoor tanning. I live in Boston. I have to do indoor tanning 2 or 3 times a week in the winter. I even do it in the summer a couple times a week to keep. And, I take, on days I don't tan, outside, inside, I take 15,000 IUs and K2. And I'm almost 80 years old. I'm going to be 78. I can't believe it, which will get me, I'm closer to 80 than 70 right now. But it's really difficult if you're older to keep it above 60. I struggle to get it to 60. And in my book, I say, and the reason I say 60 is there's a wonderful he's an epidemiologist. Yeah, he's at University of California, San Diego. And he says he's never seen a study in which a woman who's been diagnosed with breast cancer has a D3 blood level over 60. So if you've got a blood level over 60, your chances of being diagnosed with breast cancer are pretty low. And the reason this is so important is when your poor mitochondria start to suffocate because of whatever, your xenohormones or whatever's going on, when they start to suffocate, your D3 is kind of like the power of your internal internet system. And I describe this again in, I don't know, chapter 3 or 4 of the book, the whole chapter on D3. And so as soon as a cell begins to suffocate, it calls out to your immune system, hey, can you kind of help me do this sacrificial, it's called apoptosis. When you have a sick cell, you want it to die. And sometimes it can't die itself. It can't kill itself. It needs help from your immune system. So if your mitochondria are starting to suffocate, it calls out to your immune system, please help me. It's called apoptosis. I call it pop goes the weasel. And so that's why if you've got high D3 levels, you've got this army of protecting immune cells out there to punch and kill any cell that's going awire. So it can't start to gulp the glucose. In fact, it goes away and you're fine. So that's why D3 is the easiest way to prevent breast cancer. But again, if you're overweight, your excess body fat grabs half of the D3 that you make and it stores it for later. It's not helping you with your immune system. I mean, it's so important to get rid of your excess body fat. And the ketogenic lifestyle really helps you do it. So I need to stop because my time is up. But just tell you that The book describes everything I'm talking about and more. It has 4,000 or so footnotes. And one final thing, dense breasts, I have read every study that every big pharma, big radiology industry has funded. And those are the guys funding most of these studies. And the title is Dense Breasts Are a Risk Factor for Breast Cancer, something like that. You read the study, and in the end, they go, you know what? We can't figure out why it's a risk factor. Statistically, it's not a risk factor. Biologically, it's not a risk factor. It's not a risk factor. They are trying to put the fear of losing your boobs into women's brains because this culture has made us so boob oriented. And, you go on Google and all of a sudden, oh, look at Tina Turner's, in a bikini or something. We don't see that. Let's look at Mr. Tarzan's crotch. It's not a fun world out there for women. And my final thing, the most important quote I have in my book that I found is from Jean Baker Miller, psychiatrist, Harvard University, treated all sorts of women. She said, the sense of pleasing herself has been a very rare experience for most women. And when they attain it, not achieve, when they attain it, it is a newfound joy. The sense of pleasing herself has been a very rare experience for most women. And when they attain it, it is a newfound joy. So please yourself, no matter what you do. Ignore that society out there and please yourself. I rest my case.
Dr. Wadia-Ells, thank you so much for sharing all of this information with us. We greatly appreciate it, and I know that people can learn a lot more about the metabolic theory of cancer and the other things that you addressed, of course, in your book. And they can go to your website, bustingbreastcancer.com. I think and we are actually going to pause here because I just want to make sure that we have enough time to do our quick embodiment practice. But I think what's just so important is that everybody has to do what they feel is best, and choosing those things, whatever tools in their toolbox, whatever they're going to do, and deciding that with their families. And that's so important. And it's just great that we have this discussion to know that different viewpoints and that there are a lot of things to consider. But I would love for us, before we end, to just do a quick embodiment practice. We like to have everybody walk away with something that they can do. And I think Erin has something very brief that we can practice right now before we do our wrap-ups. Thank you so much, Dr. Wadia-Ells. We appreciate you.
Today is an energizing breath on the theme of keeping your mitochondria healthy and feeling like they've got lots of energy and they're not starving. So this is called breath of fire. And what it is a quick yogic breath to stimulate energy and prana in your body. And it's mainly a breath through the nose. So you focus on the exhale, and it's a really quick exhale. Like, I don't know if you can hear that. It's a quick exhale, and your belly button goes back towards your spine. And then the inhale just takes care of itself. You don't even have to think about the inhale because your body will do it naturally. So when you get it in a nice rhythm, it's actually very sustainable. You could do it for half an hour, and you wouldn't feel like you were gasping for breath at all. Sometimes in the beginning, it can be a little bit challenging because it's a different way of breathing, but we're just going to do it for 2 to 3 minutes. And I want you just, first of all, right now, to just close your eyes and tune into your body. Feel your hips on the floor, or on the chair, or whatever surface you're on. Feel your feet on the floor, and then just, take a moment to tune into your body and pick a number between 1 and 10, 10 being very energized, 1 being very low energy, and just see on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your energy level right now? And just keep that number in your mind. And then we're going to do the breath of fire and check in afterwards and see what your number is. So I'm going to be doing it. You might hear me. I don't know if Zoom's going to mute me out, but what you want to do, put one hand over your belly button so that you can feel when your belly button does a quick, almost like a jerk back towards your spine as you breathe out your nose. And then it just naturally goes out as you breathe in. And so I'm going to do with my hand on the screen so you can see the out and in breath and the basic rate of it. Okay. So close your eye. Oh, actually don't close your eyes if you want to see my hands, but otherwise, if you want to tune into your body, close your hand. Okay. We're going to start. Here we go. Okay, pause, breathe normally. And then just feel how your body is feeling right now. There's a little bit more energy moving through your system. If you're feeling extra energy going out to your limbs now that you've paused. And then we're going to do one more round. So you're going to start with your exhale, quick breath out, and then letting the inhale take care of itself. Ready? Here we go. Okay, pause and just let your breathing go naturally. Feeling into your body, feeling the changes that might be there. There might be more tingling or warmth or a sense of movement. And now I want you to check in with your number. What is your number now compared to the number that you had before? Have you gone up 1 or 2 notches? Have you gone up at all? 3, 4, 5, who knows? And just know if you do this breath for a more extended period of time, you can be really, really significantly more energized with it. It's very quick. And the only thing you really need to focus on is breathing quickly out through the nose and allowing the inhale to take care of itself. And the belly is moving with the breath, and you're doing it through your nose as much as possible.
Erin, I love it. You called that the fire breath, like a dragon. I was envisioning a dragon.
Yeah.
That was really, really interesting. And I love that. I love that we take quick little things that you can go and use in your day. So we don't have time for takeaways from that, but thank you so much. If you want to put any takeaways in the chat, we would love for you to do that. I would just like to, at this time, extend our deepest gratitude again to Dr. Wadia-Ells for sharing everything that she did with our community. Thank you so much. And remember, if you'd like to get Dr. Wadia-Ells' book, or if you'd like to contact her, you can go to her website at bustingbreastcancer.com. And as we close, I would like to let everyone know that our next event is actually going to be June 13th, to the second Tuesday of the month, June 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We are actually having April Stearns, the editor and creator of Wildlife magazine, Wildfire I don't know why I
Good.
said wildlife. I love animals, but it's Wildfire Magazine. And she has created a community for breast cancer thrivers, in particular, paying close attention to young breast cancer thrivers. And they are able to share their written works, written stories, poems, and artwork within her community. So tune in for that time. The registration link, we will put it in the chat. And also, Erin, I'd love if you can throw up our co-founder slide again, just to remind you who is bringing the breast connection, prevention plus healing, to us. So all of us are Erin Price. You can reach out to Erin Price at mastectomyguide.com. You can reach out to Dina Legland at wellnesswarriors.com. You can reach out to Ann Crook at integrative.radiance.com, and myself, Lisa Casenti, at lisacasenti.com. We appreciate everyone being here. We thank you so much. And as we said before, we believe that we heal and thrive as a community. And we are so grateful for each one of you. And we envision that we are growing this community every single month. So please share if you know people that can benefit from this, and people that come to us. It's not necessary for you to be a breast cancer thriver. You can be interested in prevention, which is also an important thing that we touch upon. So thank you so much. We are sending lots of love and light to all of you. We're going to ask that Dr. Susan Wadia-Ells can stay on just for a minute, so we can properly say goodbye to her, but we are saying good night to everyone else. Look for the recording in the next couple of days on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Night, night. Thank you.